Olá, muito bem-vindos ao meu programa aqui hoje, o Mundo Diplomático. Estamos hoje na Embaixada da Romênia, onde vou gravar agora e convido vocês para assistirem essa entrevista interessante com o Secretário de Assuntos Globais e Estratégicos do Ministério de Relações Exteriores da Romênia, o senhor Traian Hristea. Ele vai falar comigo, fez uma visita aqui com altas autoridades do nosso novo governo e vai contar para a gente como foi essa visita e como são os planos futuros das relações Brasil-Romênia. Conto com você aí comigo. Muito obrigada. Mr. Traian, thank you for being here with me today at my program Mundo Diplomático. I would like to welcome you to my country. I know our authorities have done before. You had an important meeting at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs yesterday. After this meeting, how do you think is the future of the Brazil and Romanian relations?
First of all, I would like to thank you for offering me this opportunity to address your audience and your public because it is the first time when I have this opportunity. And we are very similar people. You know, both Romanian and Brazilian people are actually representatives of Latin nations. So indeed, I had today a very important meeting. Following up after the meeting, the two foreign ministers, Ministers Vieira and Minister Aurescu, met in Munich at the security conference that took place in just last February. And on that occasion, they agreed to revitalize the bilateral relations between Brazil and Romania, and to actually use and capitalize this 95 years history of excellent bilateral relations and to project it, to update it into the future. So from that perspective, it was in this context that I had an excellent meeting at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs with Her Excellency Laura Maria da Rocha. She is the Secretary General of the Ministry of Foreign Relations of Brazil, and a surprise for you, she was the former ambassador of Brazil in my country. And during this excellent meeting and very warm meeting, we really had the opportunity to review the stage of the bilateral relations and to see where we can engage more into the future. So actually, as a result of this meeting, we agreed to expand our cooperation in interesting areas such as agriculture, such as culture, and of course, research. But to follow it up with some areas of interest for both countries. And these are areas like climate change, like sustainable development, cybersecurity, and education. So really, we had an excellent opportunity to review and to look into the future of our bilateral relations.
That's very good. Good to hear that. I'm glad to hear that because we have a new government, so Brazilians are also expecting new things, and I hope these political relations last longer. And how about the economic relations? What are the economic perspectives for Brazil and Romania?
During this meeting, we really had a good opportunity to look into the perspective of the economic and trade relations. You know, in the region I'm coming from, Romania really managed to develop a good reputation, political and economically stable country. On the other hand, Brazil is a significant partner. It is the first trade partner of Romania in Latin American countries, and also it is the country that has a significant economy globally. So it's quite normal that we should explore these opportunities of further enhancing the trade and economic cooperation. So what we agreed is to facilitate the organization of a meeting of the business persons to bring them together in presence or virtually via video conference, so as to prepare and to put together the conditions for organizing the first joint economic, technical-scientific and technological cooperation commission for the future. You know, what I would like to stress for your audience today is that during the discussion we also presented the new economic profile of Romania. as an opportunity and as a preferred target for other investors. So what we discussed and reviewed as possible for further investment from Brazilian side in my country are sectors and areas like energy, automotive industry, chemical and pharmaceutical industry, medical cooperation and health infrastructure, defense industry, agriculture and food industry. These are few areas where Romania really is excelling for the moment, and definitely they are boosted by areas such as IT, research, cybersecurity and innovations. One thing that it might be mentioned as a kind of a facilitation of the decision to come and invest in my country is that despite the difficult situation and geopolitical situation in the neighborhood of my country, we really managed to have quite good economic indicators in terms of development. And as a figure of interest for you, we might underline that we really managed to reach a kind of a record-breaking level of foreign direct investments in 2022. We reached the level of $11 billion for direct investments. Our both countries are also negotiating the accession to the OECD, so belonging to this kind of a club would be a guarantee for the investors on the quality and the business environment that it is in Romania, but also an opportunity for the Brazilian businessmen to look, business persons to look a little bit further in the wider area, for instance, towards the Black Sea or towards the Western Balkans or Balkans in general. So I guess we have good prerequisites and good start for enhancing this cooperation area too.
Mr. Traian, as you just mentioned, the Black Sea, would you explain to us what's the security situation in your region these days?
From the very beginning of the aggression war Russia started against Ukraine, Romania stood on the side of Ukraine in providing quite an important political, diplomatic, humanitarian, military, economic support, as well as the support in the area of international law. It is quite important to continue to support this country for increasing its resilience, since it's also a country that started the negotiation of accession to the European Union and to boost its own European perspectives. Actually, that is exactly the case also for the Republic of Moldova. But this illegal war of aggression challenged the world-based international order. It challenged the same values and principles that are at the base of the UN Charter we are all standing for, thus dramatically putting, I would say, pressure and underlining the heavy need of international community to provide solidarity and stand for the same values of democracy, rule of law, and human rights. From that perspective, my country is determined to continue. And actually, recently, my foreign minister underlined at the recent meeting dedicated to Ukraine at the United Nations Security Council that this is a pure situation where the international community should provide an enduring solidarity to this country. What I would like also to underline here, from our perspective, I guess there are two lines that Romania evidentiated itself in this kind of support. First and foremost, it was the humanitarian support for the refugees. And secondly, it was the support Romania provided in helping Ukrainian partners to export their cereals, their grains, because this war, significant war and difficult war, created a huge pressure for the most vulnerable countries in the world in terms of challenge to the food security. The grain prices increased dramatically. From that perspective, Romania, as a part of the European Union, participating in providing the so-called solidarity lines for facilitating the transit of exports and oleaginous seeds of Ukraine to be exported on the world market and then diminish the price pressure and lower the prices and also having an economic benefit to the Ukrainian authorities. So far, 60% of these solidarity lines goods that have been transported, around 13 million tons were transited via the Romanian ports at the Danube and Black Sea. And the backwards inflow of goods in the support of the Ukrainian economy. So what I'm going to say is that in deep and complementarity synergy with the United Nations-led initiative of the Black Sea Grain Initiatives, we really tried to contribute to alleviating the difficult consequences of the world food crisis in this period of time. And we are very grateful to Brazil because we know it's a big agricultural producer that joined the forces in really trying to alleviate these negative consequences.
Okay, thank you so much for all this explanation. I'm sure people would like to hear that from you. And thank you for being here again at my program. If you have any final remarks, anything that you would like to add to this interview, please.
What I would like to say is that this bilateral relation is one thing, but we cooperate quite closely in multilateral fora and arena. We have a history, actually, in this strong and close cooperation with the Brazilian counterparts, with the Brazilian diplomats, because we share the same values. And we stand for the same principles, for the supremacy of the UN Charter and also for the universal values like the human rights and democracy. We had that history, and the first example was, for instance, the close cooperation between the Brazilian and Romanian diplomats for enhancing and promoting the international law before the Second World War at the League of Nations in Geneva. We had another example today, for instance, when both our countries are working hard together to fight the climate change and to promote the sustainable development worldwide, the same, based on the same values we jointly share. And the last, I would say, example that I can add is that our both countries are engaged in a process of negotiation and cooperation for the accession to the OECD. And here we agreed to exchange lessons learned and exchange experience for the future during the present consultations I had. So, as you can see, we really have the all ingredients and the all prerequisites to really increase the level of ambition of our bilateral relations. We have 95 years of bilateral, successful, outstanding economic relations. And together with Her Excellency, Mrs. Laura Maria Darosha, we agreed to capitalize on this 95 years of positive experience, but also to lay the ground for the next century, next 100 years of bilateral relations, building a partnership that is actually aiming to deal with the global challenges both countries are facing.
Thank you for your visit here and for your explanations. I'm sure that these meetings that you have will make good relations for the future, maybe for 100 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for inviting me and allowing me the possibility to be in the minds, in the hearts, and in the eyes of your audience. Thank you.
I'm sure they will like it. Thank you. Espero que vocês tenham gostado dessa entrevista e até a próxima. Muito obrigada.